Hello, beautiful soul. Let's talk about this body as a temple. You may have heard this idea in the Bible or the Gita. Different religious texts will refer to how our body can be viewed as a temple. And what is inside of a temple is God, that source energy, the universe. Whatever is worthy of worship is typically inside of a temple. It's this holy place. And as I get older, this kind of took on a new meaning. I'm 34 years old right now, and this year I had a few family members pass away, and it was very interesting to see how the mind wraps around this idea of death, dying, how when we identify with the body, it's a lot more of a struggle, to put it gently. It's a lot harder to move on and surrender to the next phase of life, which is death, when we think that we are the body. And so I feel like I got a little glimpse of this when I had knee surgery. I had my ACL completely reconstructed. And the first time I took a shower was just so painful, brutal. Took me like 5-10 minutes to just sit down on this little bench I put in the shower, and to try and wash myself was excruciating. And it was so interesting because the consciousness, who I am inside, realized that this is the future. I might be 80, 90, 100 years old, whatever, if I'm lucky. But at some point, my body's going to break down. It's going to fail me. And the consciousness that I am right now, this timeless awareness that is housed in the temple, that consciousness is going to witness the body break down, and it's just not going to work. And it has nothing to do with who I am, as long as I'm not identified with my body. If I thought that I was my body, which I think is pretty normal, I thought that way when I was younger. You think, who am I? I am this person, and you're this young, growing body. And then as you mature and you get older, and maybe you have some experiences where your body stops working from no fault of your own, you had an injury or some kind of disease, something happens to your body that it stops working, and it gets a glimpse of failing, and you're the same awareness that you were when you were younger, when you're 10 years old running around. You have that same awareness, but your body just changes and grows. Like, who were you where is that 10-year-old boy right now, or girl? Where's that 10-year-old self? Where's that baby that you used to be? It has grown, transformed, changed shape, and then ultimately 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I'm going to look different. This body is going to move different. And so, to save yourself and myself years of anguish and struggle, which is what I saw when my relatives died. I saw them clinging to this body, clinging to what they thought they were, and the pain that it brought, versus practicing letting that go right now. Like, I don't have to be identified with this body. I don't have to think that it's me. Instead, I can treat it like the temple that it is, that allows me to connect. It's an instrument to speak, to dance, to create art, to do all types of things, commune with source, with creation. It's a beautiful instrument, and it has its own wisdom. It has its own intelligence. And as long as I get out of the way, which is what meditation and this de-identification with the body represents for me, when I get out of the way and I treat it with reverence, with respect, with love, I don't have the same suffering, the same impulses even. Like, for example, dropping vices such as alcohol, drugs, food, sex, all these different vices that my body wanted to use to try to regulate itself. Instead, now I have much better tools, much more impactful tools, and meditation, even though people seem to want to do anything but sit with themselves. A lot of people I talk to would rather do anything than sit with themselves. There was actually a study done, I think it was University of Virginia, I forget the exact details, but there was a study where people were placed into a room and they had the option to either sit silently or electrocute themselves with a taser. I don't think it was hardcore taser, wasn't like a military grade or anything, but I think just gave them a shock. And I think it was 3 or 4 out of 5, whatever it was the majority of people would rather shock themselves than sit in silence. People would rather torture themselves than face their own shadow, which is bizarre, but that's the level of consciousness that we're at as a collective right now. Eventually, people will realize the benefits and learn to utilize this. But as I was saying, to overcome vices, or any time now I feel an urge to do something that isn't in my best interest, I will, instead of saying or thinking whatever, I won't say, I need to do this. Let's just say I want a drink, even though I have no desire to drink. But let's say I want to quit drinking and I want a drink. Instead of saying I want, switching it and saying this body wants. This body desires to feel regulated. And it creates that little separation that begins to transform your identity, the way you identify with reality and life. So by switching just this narrative of I'm getting old, I don't say that anymore. I say this body is getting older. And just that little switch, this body is dying. This body needs exercise. It becomes a lot easier to deal with the reality of life, whatever I need to deal with, whatever I need to face, whether it's death or a vice or anything. When I start switching from that identity with the body to identifying with consciousness that is housed inside this temple, there's a lot of changes that take place in my reality, in my life, to the point where I don't need the same vices that I used to. I also don't have the same practices, the same awareness. A lot of things have changed, but that growth is what this whole channel is about. Moving from the gross body, meaning the more dense energy of the body, into this flowering consciousness, this lotus that transcends the toils of life. Just a little insight I thought I'd share with you, something that I've been contemplating recently and will continue to contemplate, I'm sure, as I get older. Love you. Talk to you later. Ciao.